The journey of Kaito. On a remote mountain, where white clouds swirled around the peak and crystal clear streams murmured day and night, there stood an ancient temple that had existed for hundreds of years. The temple was called Serene Mountain Temple, and there, an elderly Zen master lived with a few disciples. It was said that anyone lost in life, if destined to reach Serene Mountain Temple, would find the answers they sought. One day, a young man named Kaito appeared at the temple gate. He was exhausted, his eyes heavy with fatigue and despair. The Zen master looked at him for a long time, then pointed to a stone in front of the gate. "Sit down," the master said. Kaito asked nothing and quietly obeyed. After a while, the master spoke. "What are you searching for?" Kaito lowered his head, his voice hoarse. "I don't know anymore. I used to think I knew what I wanted, but now everything is a mess. I've lost everything. My family, my career, my purpose in life. I just want to escape from it all." The master remained silent for a moment, then pointed to an ancient tree nearby. "Do you see that tree?" Kaito nodded. 10 years ago, a great storm swept through this land. That tree was struck by lightning, its trunk scorched, seemingly doomed to die. But as you can see, it still stands tall today. Why is that? Kaito frowned. "Because it has deep roots." The master smiled gently. "Exactly. The tree did not resist the storm. It simply held its roots deep in the ground. When the storm passed, it continued to grow." Kaito fell silent. For the first time in years, something stirred within him. Yet, there were still too many questions in his mind. "Can you show me how to find my way again?" Kaito asked. The master stood up and walked into the temple. "Follow me." From that moment, Kaito's journey had truly begun. He had no idea that his time at Serene Mountain Temple would change him forever. The lessons of the Zen master. The next morning, Kaito was given his first task. The master handed him an old wooden bowl and led him to a small stream behind the temple. "Fill this bowl with water and bring it back to me, but do not spill a single drop." Kaito thought the task was simple. He carefully dipped the bowl into the crystal clear stream and walked back step by step. But before he had gone far, the water rippled and spilled over. He returned to refill it and tried again, but no matter how many times he attempted, he kept failing. By noon, he returned, exhausted, and said to the Zen master, "Master, I tried my best, but I couldn't keep the water in the bowl." The master smiled. "Your mind is like this bowl of water. The more you try to hold on, the more you lose. When you walk gently and let things flow naturally, the water will stay. Remember this." Kaito fell silent. He realized that all this time, he had been living in fear, trying to control everything, only to lose himself. In the following days, the master gave Kaito many other strange tasks, from picking up fallen leaves in the temple courtyard without disturbing the others, to listening for the sound of a bell that no one had rung. Each challenge led Kaito to profound realizations about the mind and life. Gradually, he no longer felt anxious to find answers. He began to feel each moment, each breath. He listened to the birds singing, the wind rustling through the trees, and realized that the meaning of life was not in what he had lost, but in the present moment itself. The flow of life. One afternoon, as the sun slowly set behind the distant mountains, the master led Kaito along a winding path deep into the forest. They walked in silence, their footsteps blending with the sounds of nature. Kaito was curious, but did not dare to ask. He simply followed quietly. Eventually, They arrived at a small stream where a large rock blocked the water's path. The rushing stream crashed against the rock, splashing to both sides before continuing downstream. The master pointed at the rock and asked, "What do you see?" Kaito thought for a moment and replied, "A stream blocked by a rock, but the water still finds a way to flow forward." The master nodded, picked up a dry leaf, and placed it in the water. The leaf drifted along, gently touching the rock before flowing around it. The water does not fight the rock, nor does it try to break it. It simply finds another path. Just like this leaf, it does not resist the current. It follows nature without worrying about its destination. Kaito gazed at the flowing water, feeling a wave of emotion rise within him. "Master, are you saying that I don't need to fight against what has happened in my past?" The master smiled. "Sometimes, the greatest suffering does not come from what happens to you, but from how you resist it. If you accept that what has passed is simply a natural part of life, you will feel much lighter." Kaito sighed, a new light shining in his eyes. He recalled his losses and pain, realizing that all this time, it was his resistance and fear that had caused him even greater suffering. From that day on, Kaito gradually changed. He no longer sought to control everything as before. He learned to let go, to accept, and to live fully in each moment. When he picked up leaves, he no longer worried about disturbing the others. When he listened to the bell, he no longer forced himself to hear a sound that was never rung. He began to immerse himself in the life of Serene Mountain Temple, finding peace in the smallest of things. And when one day, the master told him that he was ready to leave, Kaito no longer felt lost or afraid. He knew that no matter where he went or what he faced, he could be like the flowing water, moving forward, finding his own path.